So again, welcome everyone, good afternoon. So for certain brownie points, I'll start with my boss first. So Grover-san, you have been, you have led multiple organizations and also as a leader of KAIZEN Institute. So question for you is from leadership lens, what does building third eye capability truly mean? Is it visibility, predictability or control?
Let me understand the question. You said, what does the third eye capability?
Yes, the third eye capability truly mean, is it visibility, predictability or control?
Well, the answer should be none. See, measurement or observation is basically additional data by itself. So measurement is additional data, and the data by itself does not provide either visibility or predictability or control. What you do with the data does. So what can the third eye provide? It can help you find opportunities for further improvement. As I said in the presentation, it can support people, empower people on the workplace to use visibility for what? For preventing problems and solving problems. And yes, if the data is automated and we know what is the deviation, probably the data can lead to automated controls. Thank you.
Good, thank you, sir. Mr. Prashant, I think we are all aware of a Gen Z term called FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And it happens with AI also, right? Many people just say that, सब लोग AI कर रहे हैं, हमको भी AI करना है ना, AI use करना है. So how do you, decide where to invest in technology? And what separates a strategic investment from a fashionable one, just to be there?
So thank you, Kiran and everybody, and it's my pleasure and honor to share a dice with dignitaries. So before coming directly to a question, to the answer of the topic, but so the third eye, as you started mentioning your keynote, is that third eye is something that is proprietary of a Lord Shiva. I can draw out some inspiration from it. So when Shiva opens the third eye, when a truth must be revealed. And when the truth must be revealed, and the truth revealed, what happens? Either transformation or either destruction. We all have grown up watching those episodes in serials on a TV, wherein a demons come to his Mount Kailasha. He did something wrong. Shiva tried to give him some clarity. Boss, this is what some things you are doing wrong. And what we have observed, that demon tries ignoring those insights from Shiva, then he opens the third eye and either destruct or a transform it. Many of a time he is kind enough, he also forgive the mistake which that demon does. AI does the same thing. Once you deploy it, it gives you patterns, it gives you visibility, it gives you what is hidden, it uncover which you cannot see. But do we as the individual or organization, we have courage to accept it? And once we accept it, do we have enough strength or muscles to implement those actionables on a shop floor or into our business floors? That is what I think we all would need to collectively take inspiration from the topic which I've been assigned. Now coming directly to answering your question, Kiran. The one sentence answer is, deploy technology or AI when you see something is bleeding. Straight answer, look into your balance sheet, look into your P&L and figure it out. Which element of your balance sheet, which element of your P&L is bleeding? Whether it is inventory, whether it is cost of capital, whether it is COGS, whether it is working capital or whether it is your marketing expenses, etc. And see, we have seen since morning that AI has a capability to transform the factory flow. But from one side, just try to think from a top to down, right? Whether the working capital is a problem, and drill down to the contributor analysis and figure it out that yes, I have to deploy a technology use case or AI use case which has a direct impact on my balance sheet, on my EBITDA. And if you really ask me, today's a time, we all know that Iran, Israel and US war is going on. The global crude price have been, shooten up. The ancillary units which are dependent on the crude, the prices have gone. There will definitely an impact on your balance sheet in upcoming quarters. Whether your AI engine or your technology team has that muscle to crack that code, you understand the patterns from global market volatility, market benchmarks, you have your forward forecasts available. Can your AI predict and suggest me, hey, your EBITDA or a PAT is going to down by 5%. If you take these 10 corrective measures, at least it will have a minimal impact. I'm not talking about a discrete AI agentic solution. I'm talking about enterprise-wise, one scalable, super AI sort of a coach that we should all attempt. It is where we'll get a larger buy-in from a board. I think, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Prashant. I think one submission is that any solution, whether lean or AI, it should come from a problem, right? I think that takes me to the third question, which is very relevant. I'll ask Mr. Dinesh. I think all tools or technology, the objective is to get ourselves to the vision, right? But how do we ensure that technology actually clarifies our vision rather than cluttering it with irrelevant metrics and over data?
Well, great question, thank you. Now, technology is a means to an end. Right? So what we heard earlier is we do a pilot which determines, and if there is a gap in understanding, the use of a couple of technologies for getting the end result is what should be done as part of the pilot. Ultimately, you have to go with the best, which is suitable to your process, which is suitable in a more practical manner, and also which will be your single source of truth. If you do not trust the data points or the data sources which are going to give you that truth, then you will always have a clutter. So when you define technology, you define the stakeholders. And when I mean stakeholders, those are operators, those are CS, the supervisors, and the CXO levels. And there's a broad consensus on what is going to be used so that you are getting a single source of truth and you don't have a clutter around it.
Good, thanks, Mr. Dinesh. I think next question is very important. We have seen a lot of theoretical material and fuzz about technology. But when it comes to use cases, and I'll use the word successful use cases, we don't see it much in, at least in public domain, right? And Mankind, I just introduced, you take care of 32 plus plans for operational excellence, right? So I think, can you share some compelling use cases where technology shifted decision making from reactive to predictive, or it gave a large impact to our audience, please?
So I think since morning we have seen a couple of use cases and various keynote sessions. So nothing's different, but what is different that we have attempted and it has really solved a big problem. So we have attempted a couple of interesting use cases. As I said, I don't only look into the manufacturing but the procurement as well. So think of somebody from your team, from your procurement function, and you're supposed to do a negotiation with somebody on certain either a capital procurement or a raw material procurement. And what typically you do, 2 days before you try collecting the data from the website, try collecting the market benchmarks, and try analyzing your own data and say what is the supply accuracy or OTIF from that supplier and what are the market trends. And you sits on a table and then ultimately what it goes, boss 4 supplier se quote liya aur sabse chota jo quote hai, that is my benchmark, and on basis that let's negotiate. Right. What we are trying here, and we have successfully implemented, is that should cost model. So what my agentic AI agent does, it basically goes into the open source market. So let's say I'm going to procure in a pharmaceutical environment, the tablet which you see. So there is a machine called compression. It compresses the powder to form a tablet. A compression machine has 1,000 of subcomponents. So we have created a should cost model for a compression machine. It will go into the open source market. It will go into the market indices and say, hey, in order to have a compression machine, these are the 20 set of input materials or input sets are required. And the market volatility says that yes, the market benchmark and the average method is X rupees per component. And it will arrive and give you a should cost price that you can sit together and put forward on a negotiation table. Not only this, it will also tell you, looking at our import-export data, that yes, hey, the similar supplier, given this similar sort of equipment to different companies, and this is what the margin is. This is about procurement. So we used to call it smart negotiation scripts. You really need not to simply on a basis of a prompt, you will get everything there. Coming to my team is here, is a quality head from one of our injectable sites. So one of important use case which we have attempted and scaled. So we supply goods to across globe in different countries, different market. Like in India, we have guidelines from Drug Controller of India or a CDS. So similarly, every single country has their own pharmaceutical guideline to manufacture a product if you want to export into their countries. Now imagine if you produce a tablet and you export that to 45 countries, 45 different guidelines, and these guidelines keep changing. And you have your internal SOPs, right? So every single time when a guideline gets changed, right? My AI agent, which has an API connectors that is linked with all of the open source document, gives me that nudge, hey, why guideline has changed? It has impact on your cleaning validation section number 2. It will then give me a custom checklist and a deviation that yes, in order to supply into the Russia market, there since cleaning validation guidelines have been changed, you need to improve your cleaning validation cycle. Abhi kaise hota hai? So Mr. Anuj can say, I have a team of, let's say, 5-10 people. They consistently scrolling those websites, collecting those data, and then interpreting it, and then kind of arriving on this thing. So these are certain things which are scalable and have shown metal into the fields. AI predictive maintenance, I think majority of organization who's talking about AI must have implemented. Is anyway giving the benefit. You don't rely the technician to take printouts and go to the shop floor to do a predictive maintenance. You do a predictive and then the prescriptive maintenance on top of it. So there are many such good use cases are available in manufacturing quality and a supply chain domain, demand volatility, understanding, and those sort of things. I mean, I'll take one more minute. So there is very interesting case study about Mankind Pharma. I used to talk about whenever I go in the conference. So when in my supply chain role, so there was a volatile condition. So in the morning, my logistics head gets a call from a different stockist and agent, say, hey, maal khatam ho gaya. At the same time, my plant head gives a call to president operations, say, mera plant khali khada hai. At the same time, a marketing representative or a sales agent will say, hey, there's a shortage of this drug. While actually you see there's inventory high. Meerut mein bik raha hai, Ranchi mein short hai, on the same track. So there's a haphazard situation, and we have a team of 15-20 odd people to manage all those situations, consistently keeping an eye on it. Now what we did, we have an AI agent on top of it. In the midnight, that AI agent, hum so rahe hote hain, wo jaag jata hai, and then probably that goes into the different stocking nodes and networks and see, hey, these so and so goods are shortage, these so and so goods are available at the Ranchi, Jharkhand. And the midnight, it automatically creates my shipment orders. In the morning, when my logistics head came into his chamber, he opens his laptop. He finds that the bidding has already gone to the truck unions, and the goods are ready to ship. He would simply need to say yes to those adjustment and orders. So these are some examples which I think the majority of early movers have implemented, like Mankind Pharma, I think. Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Prashant. Yeah, sure, please.
And Prashant would probably agree with me, the heavily compliant driven industry is the pharma, and the regulatory compliances are so stringent, the FDA is breathing down their neck. So whenever there is a compliance, it is usually technology which comes to the rescue, right? But it comes at a cost. So while you are using technology to meet compliance, organization, and I'm sure mankind also, they are looking beyond compliance. What more can I do with, I know I have to comply to this, I know I have to invest, this is money which is, this is not going to, and of course with the price control order, there is only so much of margin, I don't get the margin from my customers because I'm using technology, but what can I do more when I am trying to comply, and what can I get out of this which will help me bring out a better ROI, or I can improve my processes. So, to your question, where are these case studies? You make use of a, if I would say, a burden which is a compliance into a positive manner, where I say, what can I do more than that?
Thanks for adding that. A very fundamental question I'll like to ask to you, Mr. Grover. So, we have a principle that, whenever there's a problem, just shut up and go to Gemba, right? So, Gemba is very important, and it relates to, again, the third eye, because it is a truth, the ultimate truth, right? Because people will have opinions, but Gemba will tell you the reality. So, does technology really replace the Gemba, or does it simply provide the X-ray vision needed to make those works more effective and efficient?
Well, the answer lies in understanding the purpose, the objective of going to the Gemba. When you go to the Gemba, you basically not just look at things, equipment, machine, people. You basically go to the Gemba. One of the reasons is if you're going to the Gemba in the market, you're going to meet people, customers. Maybe for CRM, relationship management. When you're going to the Gemba on the shop floor, what is the objective? I think the objective is to coach people, to build people, to support people, to help build a culture. You see, what we have to understand is when leaders lead, what do the leaders lead? Leaders always lead other people. Leaders do not lead machines. Leaders do not lead material. Leaders lead people. It is the people-to-people interaction which is the key everywhere. So, with the third, fourth, or the 10th eye, none of those eyes can ever replace or substitute for people-to-people relationships, for developing people capabilities, for developing relationships. So there's no substitute.
Thank you, sir. I think, Mr. Dinesh, whenever we go to our clients or prospects and, we ask them whether any digital transformation or implementation has happened, I think, the first thing we get is some Power BI colorful dashboards, right? And, they say that we do it, right? We have been doing it. It's a great thing, but, how do we say that, and how do we ensure that digital visibility really translates into actual business outcomes and not just, colorful dashboards? How do we know that it is really helping onto the outcomes?
Lighter note, when you go to our customers, first we would like to find out whether there's a budget to implement this technology. But yeah, you initially said, there is a FOMO. So everybody is on that wish list wagon. I want to adopt, and I want it as of when there's an RFP floated. I want it as of yesterday. The manager or his boss will say, "Abhi tak nahi hua, mere ko kal karke chahiye." So that becomes a pressure on the stakeholders and also the service providers in terms of delivering. So if something is delivered in haste, it is not going to give the right output. And there comes your colorful, just a dashboard. Right? So again, there has to be a great thought from from the top to the bottom as far as stakeholders are concerned, and you have to have all the stakeholders on board of what you really want to do. Now this everybody may not be completely on board with it. They may also obviously have differences of opinion, but there has to be a sign off on what exactly needs to be delivered. Again, I'm going back to my earlier point. What technology, the methodology, the process, all have to be defined. And it is not that technology adoption will always fasten the process. It could be that there may be a little bit of a delay, but what you are ultimately trying to achieve is a single source of truth. You are trying to achieve good data, which will then enable you, when you have visible data, which is then going to give you those dashboards which are allowing you to make those business decisions. 10 years ago, this was not possible. Right? 10 years ago, there were independent systems working in silos, which now has to stop. I mean, it has to be combined and a single source of truth has to come out. That is the only eventual result which will give you an actual dashboard. Otherwise, these are going to be colorful dashboards. This is not going to help anybody.
Thanks. So, I mean, concluding, so you said haste is waste, and whatever we do, it has to be aligned to problem, the vision, and business outcomes, right? You know, with all this transformation, cost is a very important factor, right? So, Prashant, if, you know, in any organization, if it's a digitally blind, let's say they have not done any transformation. So, you know, what do you advise as a first step to opening their third eye, and of course, without breaking the bank, right?
So, I recall last month when we deployed this procurement super AI model. So, my indirect category lead, on a lighter note, so there was one negotiation going on. To my surprise, it was with a milk vendor. And he was a local vendor and a very small shop. He came to us for an annual contract renewal. And my indirect category lead opens a laptop, and Super AI agent has written the name of vendor. Hey, I'm sitting with Jagdambika, who's a milk supplier vendor. Can you tell me, after scanning his profile, what are the negotiation opportunities I have? Now, that supplier, a milk supplier who has simple छोटा सा दुकान, sir अभी क्या बोल रहे हो आप मैं आपको दूध supply करता हूँ, now you are using an agent to negotiate. So, luckily I was a part of that session. I was just interacting with the supplier and said, so I said, do you use, and what's the problem? He said, sir, आप order देते हो, milk लेते नहीं हो, मेरा milk खराब हो जाता है. और समर्स में मिल्क कम आता है, विंटर्स में मिल्क ज़्यादा आता है, तो देयर इज़ अ प्रेशर एंड प्राइस भी बढ़ जाता है. तो आई सेड व्हाट यू यूज़ टू ट्रैक इन्वेंट्री? ही सेड सर आई यूज़ एक्सेल. दिस इज़ व्हाट आई कैन अफोर्ड, वन लाइसेंस फॉर माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ऑफिस. सो आई सेड सो डू यू नो हाउ टू यूज़ सॉल्वर इन एक्सेल? बोले नो सर. सो आई सेड डू यू नो हाउ टू ऑप्टिमाइज पैरामीटर्स इन एक्सेल? बोले नो सर. मैंने कहा एक काम करते हैं, दैट इज़ AI फॉर यू. व्हाट यू डू, यू बिगिन स्मॉल. You begin small, that creates a value. You can simply add 2-3 parameters, very simple parameters. What is the supply coming in? What are the inventory stocks you have? And what are the order in hand you have? You can simply optimize your working capital. Now, answering your question, Kiran. So, first of all, the organization, those have yet to start the journey, they would need to define their data acquisition strategy. Barcode has classically explained this. Till the time you will not define your data acquisition strategy at the early stage, you will not be able to scale fast. This is one. And this will happen parallelly. It has nothing to do with your process. But in parallel, what you should do? You should hire a KAIZEN Institute consultant to solve your process-related problem. You have to stabilize your process first. You have to remove the process waste. You have to eliminate inefficiencies into the process, re-engineer the process. By the time your data is up, then probably you can start at early stage with your real-time problem and then scale that use case through a technology. That is what I would recommend for an early adopter. do not make yourself blind with the organization, those who go gaga on a AI use case that it has so and so capability. Figure it out what matters to you most, what it exactly solved for you. That is what I think the beauty is. Yeah.
Yes, Grosan.
If I may add a simple sentence here. You see, all these LLMs that are available today, many of the problems, if you refer to the LLMs, they'll provide some guidance to you. That's start of using an AI, why not? Use ChatGPT, use Claude, use Gemini. Start there, start there.
Correct. So at least one can start at an individual level. I mean, I also use Gemini to get my questions for today. Getting back, we call it PPT, right? First work on people, process, and then technology. Then either you will basically digitalize the waste in the process if you don't do it. Let's move to the next question. I think question for you, Mr. Dinesh. And this is also very relatable to my previous question. How do you, or what trade-offs one has to make between speed of digital adoption and organizational readiness? Because many organizations have seen, even when they start Kaizen, they don't have any data, right? And they say that, they want 15%, 20% improvement. And, I believe same thing will happen when you start the digital transformation. So what trade-off is required in the speed and readiness?
I just take the last examples that we had, start small. And once your objectives are well defined, you are able to then make that framework or the roadmap of where you want to be. So whatever we do and whatever we sign off on, it has to be scalable. Right? So we begin, even if we don't have any experience into digital transformation in some form or the other, the beginning has to be such that it has to be scalable. So if you start use of technology, like he was mentioning, that you start small. Grover-san said, start small, at least use Claude. But that's AI. Start using data collection tools. Even the basic tools, you understand where you are going, what is the process change that you are going to bring in, if there are any challenges around that. Take one process at a time, one function at a time, one department at a time, and then scale up. It is not going to be everybody's cup of tea to do the entire implementation and get the desired results immediately. It may happen in ones or twos, but usually it is seen that you take a step, see the flaws, correct those flaws, iron those flaws, add some more details to it, take the next step forward, and then scale up. Scaling up can be faster, because once you are getting used to a system which is not your usual system of manual data collection or manual processes, once you do that, scaling up is 2x, 3x, 4x, it depends. But you start small.
Great. So again, you mentioned, what I understand is get on pilot, fail fast. Once you succeed, then you can scale it in an exponential manner. Grosan, this question is very relatable to one of the slides in your presentation. So we are all aware of a very popular show, Big Boss, right? There are a lot of cameras, and then people stay for 60 days, 90 days, right? So how do we, taking a reference from that, how do we ensure that the digital eye isn't just seen as a big boss, surveillance, but rather as a tool that empowers employees to do better work?
I think this question I had answered in the introductory presentation. When I don't know whether that provides the right answer. The simple problem was that don't use AI tools to find fault with people, to find blaming opportunities. Don't use data. I mean, sometimes we don't confuse between data and information. Convert data into the right information that information that lets people do a better job, gives them the right feedback at the right time to enable them to do a better job. So data by itself is inadequate, as we always say, it has to be converted into usable information. So as long as you're using the information to enable people, you are on the right track. If you're going to find fault with people, to blame people, you are headed towards a sure failure.
Thanks. So, enable and empower people using data generated from AI or through AI. I think this brings us to the last part. I won't get technical now. I'll hand over to audience, but before that, we'll do a quick rapid fire. Ready? So I'll ask randomly. Yeah, keep your mics ready. So Prashant, let's start with you. So what do you think? Our great-grandchildren, they'll be more happier and productive or less happier and productive with the
They are
growth?
more happier and productive. The way my son is asking questions, I think he's gonna go blast on using leveraging technology. I have to answer a couple of questions which I don't. I should learn things faster.
Well, happiness is something that's born from within and not from outside. So what happens outside will not have an impact on happiness.
But it converges. It is always, we are influenced by the outside perspective. It converges inside, Mr. Grover.
But let me tell you, we are treading a very thin line as far as the younger generation is concerned, especially the alpha generation. Happiness, like Grover-san said, is from within, and it is also very relative. So if given the circumstances, you are saying that this is what it is, digital and digital and digital, this is going to give you happiness, it may not really be the case. So we are riding a very thin line.
So, Mr. Dinesh, what is the one corporate buzzword that you would officially ban from the English language forever?
Sorry.
Let's meet offline. We should definitely ban this word. Let's meet offline.
So sorry and offline, right? Grover-san, one book you will suggest everyone to read?
I don't think it will be just one. But the context has to be defined. I think without the context, just suggesting a book may not be the best thing to do. So I'll pass the question.
So yeah, I think I'll give him a next question before I give the mic to audience. Dhurandhar 1 or 2, which one is better? Keep it short.
Dhurandhar 2, obviously. It has crossed multi-million dollars. It has given good enough revenue to the industry, I mean, that's why.
Great, thank you very much. And do you want to
My
answer?
answer is both.
Great. So what we'll do is, we'll take some quick questions from the audience, right? And we have, I think, 5-10 minutes left. So to just avoid mode of transportation, we'll go table wise. I'll hand over first. Let's start from here.
My question is to Mr. Prashant. As already we are discussing about challenges, I will ask specifically for pharma industries. What are the challenges with respect to third eye? As US FDA and other regulatories are also working to implement that into the regulations.
See, very direct questions. So I was reading a report in the morning. There was very first 483 observation issued by US FDA yesterday. It is about AI. And the observation was that the pharmaceutical organization is using AI for a sensitive compliance SOPs, but there was not enough validations of the hallucination and everything had been made, right? So I'll tell you, see, yes, AI has a broader capability, but the regulators would need to understand one thing is putting up too much of a guardrails around it will ultimately delay the customer experience. What it will delay? It will delay the supplies from India to the US market, to the Russia market, if you don't allow us to leverage the capability of AI. So I suggest that there should be a policy decision between different countries and the policy makers for ethical use of AI is something which is the need of the hour. That is where, irrespective of the pharmaceutical, everywhere you can deploy it faster. We are aware, I mean, there are a couple of use cases which we are trying at a quality domain, be it root cause investigation management, be it deviation management, be it knowledge management, but everywhere it comes, how much it is true. Whether I have my confidence interval of 95% is acceptable to you, the regulators say yes. Till the time they don't say yes, we cannot use it ethically. That is what is my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to this table.
Hello, sir. I'm from garment industry. Garment industry is highly labor-oriented industry. You all know it. Say, for example, if one line is making this shirt, 60 people will be more or less, stitching the garment one after the other. So time maintenance is very critical. That means the flow. Takt-time balancing is one of the most important thing we must ensure. So what currently we are all doing is a manual time study. There is an IE assistant. She takes time study and then ensure that people are meeting their time. So recently, one of the IT company who came to our organization, and then they have provided a headband. So actually they have not explained what exactly it is to everyone. So there is a headband and there is a camera. So that is put onto the operator. And then it is, measuring the time and everything what she is doing. So data is fantastic actually. But later what has happened after a week or so, the customer came to our factory and they took a round and then they strongly objected. So, one way we have to go for AI and then, third eye, which will help organization. Another way, the customer is coming and telling that, it's a compliance issue. You're not supposed to record all this data automatically like this. In such situation, how we should go about?
I can't answer that question.
Neither do I have an answer for a question. I mean, it will all depend on your company's policy to take on whether it is a compliance related issue or it is not a compliance related issue. So if it is compliance and there is data which is going out without your knowledge, you have all the right to stop it. And especially with what we are going to be witnessing as a DPDPA, this is going to be extremely, extremely crucial.
I think data privacy is one thing that we'll always have to be cautious about, and I was not very sure whether it was violating data privacy of any kind.
Good. Any table in the middle, please.
I think thanks for the good, discussion. I have just, I had noted down a couple of points. I'll be brief. I think one is, I think we were talking about problem solving as a trigger for Kaizen. I think with my experience, in the last 2-3 decades, working on, lean and Kaizen, everything is, I think that is a reactive mode. I think the really matured organizations, I think they have been doing very proactive way of, predicting the problem and preventing the problem. I thought somewhere, positioning the discussion, I think I would like, Mr. Grover, to respond on that. Just the second point is, with AI, I think there is a concern. I think it is the intelligent people who are using artificial intelligence. I think leaving out the majority of the, mankind. So, it is not only about, ethics in AI. I think it is also about, a responsibility of using technology to shape the, good destiny for the mankind. I think this point is completely missed out, in the era of, I would say Altman. What would you say?
Number one, I think you are absolutely right in saying that under this big talk of artificial intelligence, we keep forgetting that there is plenty of natural stupidity around us. So I always think that before we get into using artificial intelligence, let's do some basics right to get rid of some natural stupidity. So that's one aspect that I wanted to talk about. The second aspect that you spoke about is that Kaizen or improvement related initiatives are reactive. In our model, we indicate that when you start improvements, you are always in fighting mode, in crisis management mode. As long as you don't have time even to do the normal work properly, and you're working one or two levels below your hierarchy, you have no time to think proactively and go forward. So listen carefully, the first thing you always have to do in these situations is to reduce firefighting, reduce crisis management mode. And when you free up that time from crisis management mode by solving most recurring problems that are taking away your time. So level 1 is when you reduce your firefighting and free up your time. Level 2 is when you start solving problems by the root causes so that you start building better standards. Only when you have standards. So first level of improvement is when the definition of problem is any deviation from expectation. Whenever I am deviating from an expectation, I have a problem, and that's the problem I am solving in reactive mode. When I solve the problem, I come up to a new standard, a validated standard. Then I come to the third level. The third level is my definition of problem changes. The definition of problem changes to a problem is any deviation from standard. And then I start rapid checking activity so that I nip the problem in the bud. As soon as deviation happens from the standard, I am able to take corrective action. That is prevention of problems. So it is in the maturity phase of an organization. You start with reactive mode, you learn root cause problem solving, build standards, and then go to the third phase, which is proactive problem solving, and then you go into the fourth phase, you build strategies, the time you have freed up, that allows you to select the right problems to improve and then go in the long-term direction. So you start with reaction, but go into proactive mode in let's say 3 years of maturing into the Kaizen methodology.
Thanks. We'll take last few questions, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself Tushar, representing a public sector enterprise here, working on the mineral exploration in India. So I just would like to know the views of our experts about the current setup of India, like when we talk about the data, especially the good data, the information. So in Indian setup, we have a lot of data with the government organizations. So how do you see the next 5 years, how we are going with that, especially in the rapid evolving environment around the area, around the world? Major of the countries has the data controlled with the private part, but in our case, it is more about the government, I guess. So should we wait for the private organizations that they do good work and have some better case studies so that government has such control and such confidence over AI? Or do we see that government is also working in such a scenario and they are helping on that also? Thank you.
See, in my experience, the data acquisition and data privacy policy is anyway very much clear, right? Particularly for India, be it for PSUs and be it for private sector organizations. When you ask that where India is heading, if you see the investment India, if you scan it from past 12 odd or 15 odd months, the number of data centers which are going to build in India in different states. Secondly, the GCCs which are coming up, the global capability centers, the majority of European companies, majority of North American companies, they are coming, we know this, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, to build GCCs. Why they are coming to India? It is because of the abundance of resources available, the abundance of skill available, and the kind of environment which they get in India in terms of resource pooling, it is phenomenally great. Now, coming to the opportunity, India slowly in terms of the usage of, even if you see the internet infrastructure, your electronics infrastructure, your smart, cell phones or electronic media infrastructure is going heavy day on day. That sector is blooming up like anything. So, as you said that the private government sector should wait for a private industry to work on a use case and show us a true potential. I think those days have gone when we actually look up for something that, hey, let this organization do something and we're gonna kind of pilot it out post their successful implementation. See, the late mover advantage and early mover advantage both have the pros and cons. It is you who should decide for your organization whether something which is bothering you too much and bothering your business too much and you really wanted to solve without even waiting for a right example to set. You can set your own example that yes, this problem which your organization have solved for your willful. That is was something you should converse.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be industry specific as such, but when you came up with a point of government versus private, I'm just leaving a little food for thought. The digital payments in India, the way it has picked up, nowhere else in the world it has. Can you imagine the infrastructure? Can you imagine the kind of data that is, everybody sitting here is doing this, sitting out of their mobile phones. That is very, very secure. Right? So we don't really have to depend on our counterparts in the American continents or the European continents anymore. Then we have to, the skill sets are here. The brain is here. So personally speaking, I think we are doing very well and we are on the growth path there. Data Privacy Act, which will come in, the DPDPA, will enhance data security to a different level altogether. But I think what gives me at least a sense of security is, just taking that example of the digital payments. Billions, I mean, we are a 140 crore, country, 140 crore people. 50% if they are using, that's a lot of data that is lying out there. There are cases, yes, there are cases of fraud, but largely you are still protected.
Thank you. We'll take last question for today.
Hello, sir. My question is for Grover's son. You had mentioned in one of the slides that the biggest obstacle to implementing digital revolution or the AI is the culture. So my question is, what is the biggest resistance for the culture of the organizations to change, even if the leadership thinks that the AI and the digital revolution is the need of the hour?
Let me rephrase your question. You said biggest resistance to changing in culture. Our experience over so many years is that the realization is quite universal that the real change management is not a short-term effort. And if you want to be in the long term, you want to be a long-term player, and you see we wanted to add long-term value in our model we showed you, then there is no substitute for culture. I explained it earlier, saying that using exactly the same resources in terms of number of people, equipment, processes, two different organizations can give you vastly different results, and differentiator is always culture. So if that be the case, most top managements implicitly, even if with some reluctance, agree that culture change is required. Our second observation is that changing culture is a bottom-up process. Bottom-up, direction is top-down. Culture means how people behave spontaneously on a day-to-day basis. How do they react to situations? See, culture is what? Culture is a set of good and bad behaviors that are embedded in an organization. That's what is called a culture. Now, if we don't change the day-to-day routine behaviors, and by changing behaviors, you build new habits, you cannot change culture. So when we start with some simple change of routines on the front lines, we begin the process of changing behaviors. And we have to persist until behaviors become new habits. So in the process of change, there's no resistance from the bottom. If there is resistance, the resistance mostly comes from middle management. Because the role of the middle management from the traditional to culture, new culture perspective changes dramatically. From being instructive, from being the bosses, from those who decide and those who dictate, the new culture demands that you empower. New culture demands that you develop people, make it people-centric. So the resistance normally comes from the middle management. That's the biggest resistance. And changing processes can be swift. Implementing AI can be swift. Changing human minds takes longer. So you have to go at the speed of people. How to break the resistance from middle management is generally to involve them in the process of change. So it is the middle management that has to be brought on board, because the others, top management gets into these initiatives because they want a culture change. The frontline people don't resist because it empowers them. It is the middle that has to be taken care of.
Yeah, so maybe I can take that. Well, we are at the end of this panel discussion. I'll thank you everyone for attending, and even thanks all the three panelists for joining us today and sharing their insights